making Nigeria great again. And your responsibility, my responsibility towards making Nigeria a great nation and a nation that we would all be proud of. And that's why we have initiated this particular session on the big question, which is actually my pledge to Nigeria, to get Nigerians to wherever we want to take, as we take ownership and full responsibility in serving Nigeria with all our strength on and making Nigeria a great nation. My name is Daniel Adaja, and my guest this morning on the big question is Professor Remisholaria, the only female presidential candidate for Power Party during the 2015 presidential election. She's an educationist and also an international ambassador of scientists of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, I want to start off with, how do you define politics? Since you are a politician, how do you define politics?
I define politics as the opportunity to use the resources available to a people, to a country, for the benefit of all the citizens of that land. So politicians are given the opportunity to improve the quality of life, to ensure a good standard of living for the people that are in that country, using all the resources that are available in that land.
That is. I would like to agree with what you have said this morning. But then let's talk about governance for a moment. And how do we draw the line between when you have to be political when in governance and when you have to show empathy when in governance?
I don't see that dichotomy.
Okay.
I do not see it at all. I don't know where this very negative notion of politics came from, in terms of being political, supposed to and showing empathy.
Okay.
A politician must be a person of integrity.
Okay.
And being a person of integrity means being whole. So it does not admit of any split personality in you. It is what you are in public that you are in private. What you are when you are meeting in your caucuses, in your political party, the same person that you must be when you're out there talking to the people. So I don't know where this idea of being political came from, because that is not the origin of the word.
Okay.
So we have created a monster, I believe, for ourselves in terms of our politics, and we must get rid of it. Otherwise, we are not going to advance. There must be a new breed of politicians who believe that politics is about truth, it's about justice, it's about honesty, it's about hard work, it's about integrity, and the ability, and the readiness, the commitment to doing all that it is in one's power for the good and benefit of all the people, so that nobody is excluded, nobody is left behind. You as a politician do not get more of the resources for yourself and maybe a certain group of people that you favor more than for others. Everybody has exactly the same right. That is what politics should be about. I don't know what being political means actually.
What do you make up of the last 14 days of the NSAS protest by youths of the country? What do you make up of the whole protest?
I was so excited when the protests started. And I actually tweeted about this because for me, it was like a moment fulfillment. I have written some books about Nigeria and Africa in general and our new development. And two of my books, I woke up, some days ago, and I just ran for two of my books because the dedication in those two books were for the young people of Nigeria. My very first book, called A Trust to Earn, I dedicated it to the young people of Nigeria.
Okay.
And this was written in 2010. And I said, with the hope and prayer that they would believe that change is possible in their own country, and they would dedicate themselves to do whatever they could to bring that change about. And then in the second one too, which I dedicated is the 2014 book, Daybreak Nigeria is the title of that one. And I again dedicated it to Nigeria. 2014 was the centenary of the amalgamation and so on of Nigeria. So I dedicated it to Nigeria on the occasion of that 100th anniversary. And I also say again to the young people of Nigeria that they would rise up and take their country. So I was so excited. It was like, could this be that this is my prayer, my hope, my vision, for the country becoming reality? And I actually tweeted about it. I put a photo of those pages on Twitter.
Yes, let's move straight over to I don't know if you followed through on the president's speech yesterday. Did you?
Yes, I did.
What's your understanding of that speech as a politician?
As a politician, it fell flat for me. It was disappointing. Because I believe that a leader must have empathy. A leader must have compassion. That is what generates, trust. That is what will inspire the people.
Okay.
A leader that comes to talk tough and say, the thing will not be tolerated and so on and so forth. I mean, we've been calling for the president for quite some time. People have been saying, "Yes, our president, when will he talk? When will he address, the nation?" So when he finally showed up to then come in the manner in which he did, if I were a young person, I would feel very bad. There was no mention of the Lekki incident. There was no commiseration with the people who suffered.
Could there be any justification for the omission?
How would I know? I don't live in the president's mind. I am saying what one would have expected as a citizen. That's what I'm saying. And it should have been a moment to show empathy, to show compassion. He did remember, the policemen, the security people who lost their lives or were victims in some way, during the process. If you remember those ones, why should we not remember the young people? Why should we not remember the others? Are they less of Nigerians? And also remember that this whole thing came about because people were demonstrating against the brutality that had been unleashed upon Nigerians by these same security operatives by SARS, by policemen. So to now single them out, like for honorable mention, and forget the other side, the people, the people who also have been victims. I felt that was not right. Leadership must be compassionate, must be empathetic,
Okay.
and must inspire.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. 29 minutes past 9. This is the big question on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Daniel Adaja, and over the telephone with me is Professor Remy Shara, the only female presidential candidate of Poor Party during the 2015 presidential election. She's also an educationist. We're having a conversation here this morning with regards to my pledge to Nigeria. And it's a very important conversation with regards to looking at how we can collectively, my responsibility, your responsibility towards making Nigeria the nation that we would all be proud of. Now, let me ask you the question of what is your perspective towards the conversation around the restructuring of Nigeria?
Oh, I am a supporter of that. I believe very much in the fact that Nigeria cannot continue the way we have been running this nation. Look, people will some people choose to take restructuring as meaning fractionalization, the breaking up the country. I don't think that they are sincere. I don't think that they are honest. People who, at least I know that in advocating for restructuring, what I have in mind actually is more of a return to the negotiated structure that we had at independence. We were not a centralized government at independence, and our let's just call them the founding fathers, okay? They had their reason for agreeing to a federation.
Okay.
We cannot pretend not to remember that the current structure that we have was imposed on us by the military when they, through their incursion into governance, which was not supposed to have been at all, because they were not trained for it. They were not. It was none of their business. That was not their duty for the country. So when the military, took over the reins of government, they were the ones who fostered this unitary system, this centralized system on us. And it was like they now unified us in mediocrity, in corruption.
Okay.
So that each region that was developing at its own, pace, setting its own priorities and so on, suddenly all of that progress that we were making came to an end, an abrupt end. The government took over schools, took over hospitals, took over everything, and ran it aground, ran all our institutions aground.
In the deconstruction and the reconstruction of Nigeria as we speak, because we are in that transition, the country is in that phase where there is a lot of awakening among young people. So, from your perspective, on the part of deconstruction and reconstruction of the country, what needs to be done?
Write a completely new constitution, because the constitution we have is faulty, and it is so over bloated and overloaded with things that cannot make us develop. Look at the National Assembly. Look at how much running the National Assembly costs us. The budget of the National Assembly is very often like maybe thrice, 4 times, I don't know, 5 times the budget for education, the budget for I don't know, infrastructure or whatever. A country cannot develop with that kind of a system, with that kind of a structure. So we need to completely upturn, and disrupt the current system that we're running. And I don't know why it is so difficult for people to understand, except that it's about personal gains, personal interests. That is what is blocking people's eyes. Across the world, even those whose situation, whose condition is not as dire as ours, they are making fundamental changes. Italy just recently voted to reduce its own parliament. That's Italy. It's already a developed country, but they recognize that they need money for very important things, and they decided to downsize. Senegal had done that in 2012. They had a flood that devastated, many areas of the country, and they said that rather than rush to the World Bank or wherever to go and get a loan to rebuild and to settle the victims and so on, they chose instead to cancel their Senate and use that money for the purposes that they considered more urgent. So what is wrong with Nigeria?
Okay, I was going to ask you the question because I feel like I need to ask this question right now. Fundamentally, what are some of the things we need to correct? What are some fundamentals? Because you just talked about the Constitution, and there's a lot of, let me say, a lot of things that has to go into the revaluing our constitution or putting up a new constitution. But there are some things we need to take care of from our foundation as a country, which you have highlighted first from how the current system of governance we're currently using is forced upon us from your perspective. But are there other perspectives that needs to be corrected before we can even talk about, the constitution needs to be changed, before we have people who would think on that direction of, let's cut down this budget, let's cut down this assembly for us to move the country forward?
Well, I personally, I believe that we should have a referendum on some of these issues. But to talk about other things, look, what quality of people do we want in governance? That is an issue. How do we bring people into positions of leadership in the country? How come when in the private sector or even in the public sector, how come that you require certain qualifications to be able to accede to some positions, whereas in politics it's not required? So that just about anybody is able to become a senator, become a House of Reps member, and so on. What do we need? And also at the state levels, we have to institute benchmarks with high standards. So we must realize that the governance of our nation is the most important issue. If we get politics wrong, We have seen it, we have experienced it. It does not need any further confirmation for anybody. You get your politics wrong, you get your lives wrong. Everything goes wrong once the leadership is wrong. You don't put your money in the places where it should be put. We are putting our money into people's private pockets. We are constantly looking for loans and borrowing and so on, and mortgaging the future of our children. In fact, I was thinking, as we saw the ingenuity demonstrated by the young people during these entrance protests.
Okay.
The incredible gift, the incredible talent that we have in the country. We don't need to be running to China or to wherever to solve our problems. We are able to solve our problems. All this running all over the place is corruption.
Okay.
It is corruption. Nigerians are fixing people's problems all over the world. Hardly would you find a team doing something great, something creative, something innovative around the world that you would not find in Nigeria.
True.
Yeah, among them.
True.
So what is wrong with us? We have the duty to remove this reproach on ourselves in the face of the world, because the world recognizes it on the one hand that Nigerians are extremely gifted people, and then on the other hand, but look at their country.
Yeah.
There is a total incongruity between what we are known to be and what we are seeing today in our country.
Yeah.
So we have to resolve that matter, and it is by getting the right people in leadership.
All right, we're going to come back to a lot of more questions, but 20 minutes past 9 on the 20 minutes to 10 on the radio right now, and I want to take like one or two calls to be part of this conversation. And if you're just joining us, this is the big question on Women in United 1.7. We're having a conversation on my pledge to Nigeria, and my guest this morning is Professor Remi Shonaya, who is who I'm speaking with. The phone line is open. I'll take like about 2-3 calls. 07000 917 917 is the number to call. You can also send us a text or WhatsApp message on 070 317 565 37 to be part of this conversation. All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Daniel and Abaja.
Good morning to you, FA.
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, the woman there, she has said everything. In fact, power to Daniel. Look, our president is just mocking this nation. I had the speech yesterday. There was nothing, especially that toll gate. This he did not mention anything about that. And for his speech, the way I'm looking at it, he was just trying that maybe to make himself everlasting president to this country, which is not going to be possible. So you can imagine it, Power Touch. Please, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I'm bleeding in my heart for Nigeria. How can I just imagine myself? Maybe I have food in my house to eat, and my next neighbor does not have something to eat. No, it's not fair. It's not fair. The major problem that we have, they should start from the House of Assembly to cut down the fund. This fund, the salary, the money they are collecting is too huge. It's too big, and it's weighing Nigeria down. Until they cut the salaries of these people, Nigeria will never move forward. God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much, DFA. All right, 18 minutes to 10. 07000 917 917 is the number to call to be part of this conversation. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, John from Butemata.
Good morning, John.
Yeah, but from the beginning when the youth start protesting, I was a little bit happy. But at the end of the day, they end up with a lot of destruction. And it's because everything that is happening, our government politicians, the one that cause it, they are very greedy people. And COVID-19 is not, they lock us for 5 months, 6 months. And it will be the year that the people lose their job during COVID-19, and they still go around increase letter B, increase fuel. It is not good at all. They take all their money. Say these people they don't. It is very bad. I was thinking that the youth now should have be patient enough to vote the way they come out. Not but now look at how the other people use it again. The same year, this year now wow. And now they go and boy everywhere, go to again see later here, very close to me as per say here. Boy every break people shop, pack people property is very bad. This is a sign that the politicians have to know that their greediness and make people to become armed robber and a kidnapper and killing ritualists everywhere you go. They kill court all those these politicians that caught it, and God Almighty will judge them.
Thank you, John, for calling in this morning. Let me come back to Professor Remy this morning. The current administration has another 3 years before there will be another election. What do you think is the biggest obstacle not allowing this administration perform to optimal?
Well, why they are not performing, people have been talking about a total disconnect, between those in government and the people. And that's why, before we took a break to allow some people to make calls and make contributions, we were talking about the need to have proper criteria for those who would lead us, who would come into positions of leadership.
Yeah.
It is a shame that in Nigeria, in spite of all our resources, one does not see the evidence of the resources on ground, look at the state of the nation, broken infrastructure all over the place, and so on. And when the government does just something minimal, they will blame it up as if our lives have been transformed wonderfully, which is not the case at all. And then I think the main issue is the mind, their thinking, their understanding of the power that they are given. People, they think that this power is to be used for personal gains, and to be used to continue to put people down. I'm always amazed when I hear, like when these protests began, then, some of the maybe ministers and so on, and security officers, they were saying, oh no, responsible government will fold its arms and watch the country slip into anarchy and things like that. So all the bad governance does that mean that is what a responsible government does? Not ensuring that all your children are in school, not dealing with the issues, the whole. People have been complaining about SARS. I didn't really know that they have been prescribing, or removing SARS over and over and over again. So is that what the responsible government does? And then they come and say, no, responsible government, as would fold its arms. So you have been folding your arms and watching our lives become so degraded.
Okay.
So what is it? The knowledge, the understanding of what the position requires is simply not there. People think that it's being in politics is about being big, riding in big jeeps and things like that. So whether your people are dying of hunger, whether you have become the poverty capital of the world or something, it does not matter. As long as those of you who are in the National Assembly can buy yourselves the latest models of the most expensive jeeps and things like that. Does that give you does that give you enough in the face of the world? Nigerians have become a laughing stock. People, the world is confounded over the case of Nigeria. You know, and we still want to go around the world. If I were a member of this government, I would refuse to go anywhere in the world.
Let me ask you, because it was part of my questions. It was part of my questions. I was going to ask what you would do differently if you, with the whole situation that happened in the last 14 days. What would you have done differently in order to let me use the word salvage the situation?
I don't know that is a fair question, because you are saying you are bringing me in at the end when things have gone out of hand. Would I have allowed things to get to this point? That's the real issue. Would I have been unmindful of the anguish of the people?
Okay.
Would I have allowed our young people to be so treated by SARS? Would I have pretended that I was not aware of the gravity of their complaints? Would I have been inured to the fact that many of them graduating from schools and higher institutions of learning were jobless and remained so for 3, 5, 10 years? So you can't just plug me in at the end and say, what would you have done differently? I would have been doing things differently. Right from the beginning. Because you see, that is the thing. Governance should not be about putting out fires.
Okay.
It should be about deliberately providing a good quality of life for the people. And what usually happens, what people don't realize is that if you don't do that, then you are setting yourself up for trouble. Because ultimately, the kind of thing that has happened will happen. This is the lesson of history.
Yeah.
Think of the French Revolution.
Okay.
If they don't in the leadership, if they behave like, all the person, we are fine, we are well fed, we have our big houses and things like that, and the devil takes the rest. During the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette, that's the famous thing. The king complaining, the president, the citizens are saying they don't have bread to eat, and she just let them go and eat cake. Dismissing their anguish, their pain, their suffering. When the revolution started and the guillotines, came up, then people realized that the citizens were truly angry and hungry. So you don't treat your people like that. You don't.
True.
If you want everybody to live in peace, you take care of the people because you have the resources of the land to do so.
We have about 8 minutes left in this conversation and we have to wrap up shortly. But I have like 2 pertinent questions I'd like to really put out there. Are you of the school of thought that this particular protest that has happened among the youth is the beginning of the awakening of our young people?
Oh, I really hope so. I sure hope so. I hope so. It has been an exciting time for me because this is a period that I have been waiting for. And I hope that the young people will not allow it to fizzle away. Because it must lead. And I hope that also those who were involved in the protest and who demonstrated incredible level skills at organizing and so on. I hope they will now be able to engage with the ones who were doing the looting and the arson and the vandalizing. Because I don't believe that they are the same group. They are not the same group.
Yeah.
But they need to reach out to those ones
and engage them.
Who are doing the vandalizing and things like that.
Yes, that leads me to the next question, which will be the last question for the morning, is how do we ensure that the youth of this generation begin to see politics, election, and voting as important?
I believe that they have started, to see it. I really believe that they have begun to go in that direction.
Okay.
And that's what I was trying to say, that they must now organize. They must now organize, and they must convince those, the ones who have been looking. I believe these are probably the same kind of people that the politicians, bring up during the political, electoral season, and use them in various ways and give them money to vote and things like that. The young people must recognize that is over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Missionary. But just before you go, we always do something on this particular conversation of I Pledge to Nigeria. Is I'll need you to say your full name and say I pledge to Nigeria, to fill in the rest of the gap with what your heart asks you to fill in with.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Missionary, and I pledge to Nigeria to do all that is in my power to ensure that the lives of Nigerian citizens will be one of dignity, will be one that is good, where they are able to live in their country in peace and in prosperity. So help me God.
Amen. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And I'd like to end with one of your tweets that says, do not be afraid to be different. Don't get sucked into the prevailing corrupt system which needs to be changed. That's my message out to everybody this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
All right. And this is a wrap on the big question this morning. And yes, please remember that no Nigerian is more Nigerian than a Nigerian. And it takes the collective responsibility of us all to make Nigeria great. My name is Daniel Adaja. At 10 o'clock, we'll be Radio Doctor. Good morning.
I beg you, where Korode? Go on there for Lagos, Joe. Government just take and they deceive people now. No Koro for anywhere. No malaria.
Coronavirus is real. More people are dying. More are infected. Corona is still in our midst. Easing the lockdown does not mean that the fight is over. Use your mask. Wash your hands. Social and physical distance. Stay at home if you have no business outside. Coronavirus is real.
Maazị John, ebee ka iji ọsọ wee na-aga n'ụtụtụ a?
Ezigara nwa m nwoke ego. Ugbu a, mgbe na-etozi debit 15 naira. Akpọrọ Sam Duty. Ebe a ka m na-aga ugbu a ka m mata ihe kpatara.
Ọ pụtara na ịmaghị ihe bụ ụgwọ stampụ ọrụ, stamp duty.
Ọ pụtazi na mmezipụzi akwụkwọ ozi ka ọ gịnị?
Stamp duty abụghị maka iziga akwụkwọ ozi o. Naira 50 wepụrụ bụ ụgwọ ụlọ ego ọbụla na